Welcome to our resident Knicks fan, Alec Bastick. Welcome to the podcast, mate. How are we going?
Hey, fellas. Yeah, happy Sunday afternoon. Happy to be here again.
Few beers over the weekend?
A couple of quiet ones. A little East Coast crawl with Jesse Usual, a little food crawl.
Don't mind it. We're here to obviously talk about your New York Knickerbockers. You came on pre-season and we had some different thoughts, it's fair to say, on how we thought the Knicks would go this season. Just let me know what your thoughts are on the predicament of the Knicks so far. They're 11-12 in the East, losing to the Nuggets again today. How are they looking for you? It's obviously been a fairly up and down season, especially with the big Kemba issue obviously going out of the rotation.
Yeah, the Kemba issue, it's a problem at the moment. We're 11-12. It's not doomsday, and we're playing terribly. Randall's playing terribly. Kemba hasn't worked out. Fournier's been pretty average, and RJ has regressed. So everything's gone wrong at this point. If we can turn it around, if a few of those things turn in our favour, 11-12 or 14, we're going to, we're thereabouts. I don't think it's too much reason to panic at the moment. We'll turn this season around. If we get a few things go our way, we start playing a lick of defence, we might be all right. We're still looking all right for that 7th seed, as I predicted.
Okay, because the defense is the big issue. You were top 4 defense. Thibs has the pool as an NBA defensive mastermind. So, what would you attribute the lack of defense? Because I think they're 20. What you had the stat there as to where they're sitting defensively.
Yeah, so they were 4th last season. They're now 24th in defense so far this season. Are you putting that down to the ins of Kemba and Fournier? Because outside of those two, the roster's fairly similar, isn't it, to last season where you were 4th? So it's an extraordinary turnaround, really.
Well, Kemba and Fournier couldn't defend Lee and I on a Thursday night at King, let alone NBA superstars, which is a massive problem. And you're comparing them to Bullock and Payton, who, they weren't superstars, but they were pretty good defenders. And we bring these two guys in, and it's not working out. And Randall's not playing defense. He's playing with no effort or hustle or grind at all. And he was a defensive stud last year. And then Mitch Robinson isn't the defender Nerlens Noel is. He hasn't improved, and that's another problem. But we gave Noel that contract. I think he should be starting at this point because Robinson is not showing enough.
Yeah, because contracts was my sort of issue, specifically with the off-season. So obviously you had the incredible run, and I think the NBA is just better when the Knicks are playing really well. But I kind of felt the Knicks almost kind of locked into this group. So they started handing out contracts. They gave Randall that extension. They gave Nerlens that extension. Like Burks, all these players got paid. As a Knicks man, when you saw them sort of start locking in this group as the sort of one moving forward, do you think it was a little bit too early? Do you think you're okay with the players they've locked in at this stage? How would you see the contracts in hindsight now?
I don't think any stars were coming, which is sort of the main thing last year. So handing out short-term deals, sort of finish around that 4 to 6 mark again, build the team up so a star will come, sort of like what Brooklyn did. Just have a couple of years of success. I didn't mind the contracts. They weren't too long, then they weren't too big. And we didn't really overpay anyone, bar Fournier and, 3 years, fourth year team option. He's not going to be getting that at this point. But I didn't think they were too bad, and none of them were outrageous. They're all movable pieces. You can sort of tie them into like a Quickly or a Top and then a couple of picks, and you're starting to get some sort of a package that can, build the finances up to get these star players.
Yeah, I just want to make a point on that because we spoke about pre-season. I even wrote a recent article about it, how the Knicks are kind of stuck in the middle and they're right now just being patient, waiting for a star to become available and then pounce. The issue is with these contracts that you handed out to these guys is that we're getting to a point where they're no longer seen as valuable contracts, and then the young guys, like, is RJ Barrett going to be the centerpiece of a deal for any superstar? Not the way that he's been playing of recent time, no. So I think that the name for the New York Knicks is Damian Lillard. For him to come to a big franchise, to a big city, to lead the Knicks forward to hopefully what you guys hope and believe to be championship contenders. And to me, going into the season, you could have had RJ Barrett. You could have even had Kemba, who, going into the season, everyone would have thought, okay, Kemba's not the player he was when he was at Charlotte, but a 2-year, $16 million contract is a good, valuable piece to any team. Well, now he's been pushed out of the rotation, and that contract doesn't look great, even though it's very cheap. Fournier, I mean, who's taking him in any deal for, a Damian Lillard or such kind of player? So that's my issue, is the young talent's not necessarily there to build a stack around to bring in someone like Damian Lillard, and those other contracts that you need to obviously get up to a max salary player. Well, who really would Portland want, a Kemba or an Evan Fournier? I don't think those pieces are adding to any potential deal like they may have in pre-season, where, as I said, we look at a Kemba deal 2 years 16 and think that's actually a pretty good deal. Even though he's not Charlotte Kemba, we expected him to get back to someone who was going to be worth more than $8 million a season, and right now he's out of the rotation and not worth that whatsoever.
I think you're sort of the Kemba contract. $8 million, he'd come off most benches and be a good piece. Apart from, we've got Derek Rose and Emmanuel quickly coming off at the guards. One's a promising young player who you got to play, and Derek Rose is arguably the best backup point guard in the league. So there's not a spot for him. Arguably, maybe not.
Okay. Yeah, fair point. I just want to know your thoughts around the starting lineup, because they've obviously taken Kemba out, brought in Alec Burks, and Alec Burks isn't a point guard in any sense of the word. He's not a playmaker at all. He's actually been a pretty good scorer. He's actually in fairly good form at the moment. But it's interesting how, now correct me if I'm wrong, but is Burks coming in a factor of they want the ball in Randall's hands a bit more, because he's been down offensively as well, and maybe at the beginning of the season that was down to the fact that there was Kemba there to do a lot more of the ball handling duties. Is Burks coming in, obviously Kemba's a real liability defensively, but also because they want the ball in Randall's hands a little bit more?
You go back to the formula of last year, where Elfrid Payton, he wasn't a true point guard. He'd get you five or six assists. Burks can do the same, and I don't think he's going to be the answer either. And Randall does need the ball more, but he needs to play better. That's our number one problem at the moment. He's not playing like an all-star MVP level type player that he was last year. If he gets it going, the rest of them will come.
So I'm sort of looking ahead, because I think you've almost convinced me in this app. The contracts really aren't that bad when you think about it. When I saw Russell Westbrook's contract and CP3's contracts got moved, I thought anyone's contract can get moved now, because they're short-term deals. Even Randall's contract's not even that bad. So are your goals for the season? What's it, 120 or something? I believe you paid him.
Cheap deal. So if he
so are your goals now for the rest of the season just to almost like get people to almost just at a bare minimum meet their contract's worth, and then just because now that I think about it, as the Knicks, you haven't been great since the Melo era, and all you really you had to capitalize on what made you great last year, which was those players. And so now your goal is just to get everyone up to at least pay at the level of their contract, and then be more appealing to a bigger star. Is that the goal? Is that what you have in mind for the rest of the season?
I'm a bit torn on this one, because you look at bringing in Burks. It's a winning move. He's a better defender. He's a better player than Kemba is at the moment, but he's not the point guard of the future. I'd like to see quickly out there whether he's hitting shots or not. I want to see him develop, but that sort of takes us back to 2 or 3 years ago when we're trying to develop players, which we're not very good at, and we're going to lose games. And it's not going to attract the free agent star to come along.
Exactly.
It's, player development, or then just trying to piece together as many wins as we can to look like a competent franchise. And I guess I'd probably take the latter. But even trying to appeal to someone like Dame or Beal, they're not good enough. I don't think any of those guys are good enough. Anyone who's available or might be available coming up is not going to make the difference on that Knicks franchise as it is.
I completely agree with you. I know I mentioned Dame, but is a Dame and Randall tandem going to take the Knicks to the NBA Finals?
Yeah.
Absolutely not. Is a Beal-Randall tandem going to take them to the NBA Finals? Absolutely not. So for you, Out, what's the way forward, I guess, for the New York Knicks? Is it waiting for, I don't think none of us think that Beal or Lillard are top 10 players in the NBA. Is that what we're waiting for a top 10 NBA player to become available, and then for the Knicks to go bang and swing some kind of deal?
It seems like that's the direction we're going at. And it seems like the guys in the front office, that's what they're playing for at the moment. They're just having movable contracts, hopefully get a few wins on the board and look appealing like we did last year. And I think we'll come right. I think Randall's going to turn it around and we are going to build into a 6 or 7 seed, maybe 8th. And then a star might come. But the way it's changing at the moment, who knows? Karl Anthony Towns might come up and you can put a package together. But it's not going to make a huge difference.
Cat.
It is just getting a star in the garden, which is the main thing we're looking for at the moment.
Yeah, that's just... Sorry, you
great.
go.
Yeah. All you really, because the fact that you established a culture last year, I think was huge for free agents moving forward, and you've got a respectable coach. And I think if you get one star to come, even if we don't think they're a top 10 player, even if they're just I think the momentum that you can build off. But yeah, getting that defense back because I think what a big thing, like I don't think you had like all defensive players in your team last year, but your effort, the effort that you were fighting with, and I've seen that in so many of Thibs' teams. That he never has world class defenders like all NBA, but the effort they play with. So I think if you can start building on that momentum, mate, I want the Knicks to succeed. I really want the Knicks to succeed. So let's hope that's something moving forward.
Stop lying to out when we've got him on here, mate. You and I both had them as the 9th seed in preseason. That's where we want them to finish. So let's be honest. Have you got anything else for us, mate, at all on the Knicks?
There's not much exciting at the moment. It's grim, but when we do come right, you two are going to be the first to know about it.
Fair enough.
It was the 10th predicted, and I wrote that down.
He's kept the receipts.
He's keeping receipts, and it's for probably 3 or 4 years' time, let's be honest. Anyway, thanks very much for joining us, mate. Enjoy the rest of your Sunday.
Cheers for having me again, guys. Take it easy.